What's up, everyone? It's Caddy with Money Investing. So thank you so much for joining in. We've got the jobs numbers coming out in about 10 minutes at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. If you guys can hear me, if you guys can see me without any issues, just give me a thumbs up and we should be all set. We're gonna break down exactly what the expectation is, and then in 10 minutes we're gonna find out the actual numbers and where that unemployment rate sits revised for the month of August after adding the new jobs numbers, right? So perfect, loud and clear. Matt, what's going on, my man? How you doing? It's been a long time. Thank you so much for joining in. All right, loud and clear. Perfect. That's great. That's awesome. VIX starting to pull up a little bit, up over almost 2% here, trading past over 16. We got the broader market slightly up. So NASDAQ futures, QQQ NASDAQ ETF up a little bit over 12 basis points. We got the S&P up over 15, and we got the Dow Jones also up over 8 basis points on the day. And the Bitcoin also breaking out over 50,000, and we got Ethereum almost at $4,000. That's absolutely incredible breakout, even despite the negative divergence that we were forming here. Ethereum with a strong move to the upside. Just let me know if you guys can hear this, and we should be all set with the audio. So let me know if you guys can see and hear this.
Honestly, I think
so just give me a thumbs up.
Here,
hold on.
It may feel tight if you can't get people in the right spot, but I think there's a lot to work to go, a lot of work to do.
All right, so just let me know if you guys can hear this.
Thank you so much. A great tradition with J.P. Morgan. John?
We need to get to the host of the main event. It's Michael McKee, our economics editor. He joins us ahead of that payroll report. Mike McKee, 733K. That's the median estimate. What should we be looking for in around about 8 minutes' time?
That's exactly it, John. This is going to be the more consequential jobs report than we've seen in quite some time.
Perfect.
And it's really going to revolve around...
All right, we are all set. We are good to go. So this right here is going to be the expectations from the jobs report. So economist poll by Dow Jones expects 720,000 jobs were added in the month, down from 943,000. So that was for the prior month added in July. And the unemployment rate is expected to dip down to 5.2%, currently sitting at 5.4%. So we'll see how that numbers kind of play out, because the ADP report also came in a little bit softer. That was a couple days ago, so Wednesday we got that ADP non-farm payrolls, and investors will be looking at the data closely given the recovery in the U.S. labor market is being used by the Federal Reserve to gauge when it should tighten monetary policy. However, ADP's monthly employment report released Wednesday showed the private payrolls rose just 374 in August. While this was above the estimate of 326,000 jobs in July, it was well below the Dow Jones estimate of 600,000 new payrolls. So quick poll for everyone here joining in. So unemployment rate, we're gonna do a quick poll here. Unemployment rate, is this going to go up, going down, or going up? All right, unemployment rate going down or going up, so let me know what you guys think in the poll. We got a few stocks that are moving up nicely. I'm going to cover that after the unemployment report. But let's see how many people we have. So 77. Let's just wait for a few more people joining in. We just got about 6 more minutes left for the markets, for the unemployment rate to come out. So again, this right here is exactly where we're sitting at the moment. You'll notice that we have drastically come down from 14.8% all the way down to 5.4%. The prior month, so from May till June, we did see a 10 basis point tick higher, and a significant decline month over month from June to July of about 0.5%. But mostly the Fed is going to be focusing on all these different categories. We got Black and Hispanics that they are going to be focusing on, because they really want those service sectors to do really well as well, just considering how high they were. So Hispanics were all the way as high as 19%. And then we saw Black or African Americans at 16.7%. They're now down to 8.2%. So, all right, Ranjit, thank you so much for coming in. Happy Friday. Yeah, so we got Friday here, almost closing in on the week. But overall, I'd say the markets have been relatively stable this past week, with a little bit of a lower breadth and some signs of weakness showing up intraday, as we have seen those sell-offs in the markets. But 5 minutes left, but quickly going over some of the stocks here. So Tesla is flat. Last time I checked, slightly up over 38 basis points, so nothing crazy. NIO was a little bit flat as well. I think it was slightly down. Just flat, about 25 basis points in the red. Let's take a look at AMC and I'll see how that stock is doing. Down just about 1%, but still staying above $40. So in that sort of supply region, supply zone, above $40, but still under 50.74. That's kind of like the resistance range of consolidation for AMC. Amazon, let's take a quick look here. up just over 16 basis points, pretty much flat on the day. It's just Ethereum and Bitcoin that's been charging higher, right? And as a result, Mara has been pushing higher as well. I do expect a breakout today. If Bitcoin continues to hold up, 44.58, I do expect some type of a breakout over that resistance. We perfectly got tagged yesterday before seeing a little bit of a pullback on Mara stock as well. So Courtney going down. So Keys, good morning. Thank you so much for joining in. Jobs report is below expectations and we should buy. So if job report is below expectations, then that could mean that the Fed is going to start to postpone a little bit of their tapering plans. Again, this is all speculation on my part. We've got an FOMC meeting coming up later this month. So this is our September 2021 calendar. So you want to pay attention to a couple different days here. So of course we got that ADP non-farm payrolls on Wednesday this week. We got this is the Friday that we're today. So that's September 3rd. Non-farm payrolls, participation rate, average hourly earnings and unemployment rate. And then a couple other days is going to be next week on Friday. We've got the PPI numbers, so that's going to be part of our inflation report. And the following Tuesday, we've got the actual CPI and core CPI. So both of those days super important for the markets and the economy. And then finishing it off with retail sales on Thursday, September 16th. And then September 22nd, we got the FOMC meeting with the SEP, that's a summary of economic projections, interest rate decision, and the FOMC press conference as well. So Dennis, thank you so much for joining in. Just finished watching your videos from yesterday. You the man, your breakdowns are hands on the best. Go Neil, thanks for Dennis. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your comment, and glad the videos are helpful and you enjoy them as well. So thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. Let's take a quick look at Fiverr too, and then we're gonna have like 30 minutes before the market's open to break down all the stocks for you guys. I just want to go over like the unemployment numbers first because they're very, very important for the markets and the economy, and then of course we're gonna break down all individual stocks as well. So Fiverr up over 1% here. That's good. 185. We're starting to push higher. We did test as high as 186.74 on August 30th, but then saw a little bit of more consolidation sideways around that resistance level. But in order for us to see a successful breakout, we need some more volume, right? The volume has been kind of stable. It hasn't been that high. Ideally, I would like to see more than 1 million shares traded for Fiverr. I mean, it's just been really low. 600,000 is not a lot for the company. So I would want at least 1 million shares or higher to be traded for Fiverr in order for us to see that continuation and that breakout as well. Palantir, let's take a quick look. Before we jump in, we got about 2 minutes left for the unemployment numbers to come out, jobs report to come out. Pretty much flat. You know, we're still consolidating sideways. 25.75 support, 27.50 is the next resistance and the target. And similar to Fiverr, we need more volume in order for us to see that more continuation up to 27.50. Right? It's been a strong rally here, coming in since July 19. We got great earnings, and since then it's pushed up over 27%. And that next target and that next near-term resistance is going to stay put at $27.50. All right, so we got about 1 minute and 30 left for the markets to basically react to whatever jobs data comes out. 72% people are saying that the unemployment rate is going to go down. That means the jobs numbers are going to be much better than the expectations. Dave, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much from Virginia. And then 27% people say that it's going to go up, meaning that the unemployment numbers or the jobs data is going to be a little bit of a disappointment as soft numbers relative to the expectations. So I'm going to end the poll there, and then we're going to jump over to this very quickly. So again, this is where the numbers are going to come out, and we've got the new payroll numbers coming up here on September 3rd at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. So I will reload that as fast as I can as soon as the numbers come out, but we'll be watching Bloomberg as well to see what those look like. The biggest gains we have seen is in leisure and hospitality. So that's obviously seen, month over month, and even over the last 3-6 months. If you go back 6 months out, that sector alone, it stands by itself. 2 million jobs added in that leisure hospitality space, and everything else is just, in the low, sort of like a 5-figure number, sometimes even 6 figures for manufacturing, 153,000. We got professional business services, 273,000. Then we got right here, education health services, 377,000 also added for this sector. So, but all in all, I think this has been the biggest driver for this unemployment report. And as a result, you've seen the average hourly earnings. Actually, you know what? Let me just tune in here. All right, so
On TV, this is Bloomberg Surveillance with your equity market pushing higher. Futures up 0.2% on the S&P 500. Yields
Of course it had to pause right there.
jobs were created in the month of August. The unemployment rate does decline by 0.2% to 5.2% as forecast, but that is a really, really dismal number, much lower than the lowest forecast that we had in the Bloomberg survey of economists. The unemployment rate at 5.2% reflects 8.4 million people who are unemployed. That is a lower number, significantly lower than it had been, but there don't seem to be a lot of people gaining jobs, and it's kind of hard to tell why. A lot of concern about the COVID variant in the month of August. It was early in August, the 12th, the week that includes the 12th, that they do these payroll reports, surveys, but maybe it did have an impact. Private payrolls, 243,000. Manufacturing payrolls, up to 37,000. That's 10,000 more. Well, let me back up. That is less than the 52,000 revised manufacturing payrolls. Because let me go back to the top here, John. 235,000 jobs created. The July number was revised up to 1,053,000 from 943,000. More than that's 110,000 additional in the month of July. So that takes some of the sting out of it. But it doesn't fix everything.
And the math on that, John, is 369,235 plus 134.
Mike, you take a deeper dive. Let's go through the price action. Some subtle moves off the back of this. Equity futures are fading a little bit, up just 2 points now. They were up 0.2%. In the bond market, a subtle shift as well. What you're seeing here is a move of the front end through the belly. Yields lower by about a basis point or so. This is exactly what Priya Misra was looking for, Tom Keene. The so-called bull steepener, the front end rallying just a little bit more than the long end off the back of a weaker than expected print. The idea being that maybe the Federal Reserve can just push out, massage the message a little bit, that they push out any conversation about rate hikes anytime soon. And Tom, just quickly, let me finish with the FX market. Dollar fading, dollar weaker, off by about a third of 1% right now. A break of 92 on dollar index.
We're thinking together, John. We do this once a month. John and I actually on the same page. Euro 119.
All right, let's take a look at the jobs numbers. The unemployment rate did drop down to 5.2%, but I think we only added 240-something thousand jobs. I don't think that's right here. Let me see. So we're just gonna reload this. Wow, payroll employment rises 235,000 jobs only in August. Unemployment rate declines to 5.2%. That is quite a. There we go. There goes our power also. Total non-farm payroll employment rose 235,000 jobs in August, and unemployment rate declined by 0.2% to 5.2% in the U.S. All right, so far this year, monthly job growth has averaged 586,000 jobs. Power got shocked, literally, I know. Probably did. But yeah, let's take a look here. So in August, 5.6 million persons reported that they had been unable to work because their employer closed or lost business due to the pandemic. That is, they did not work at all or worked fewer hours at some point in the last 4 weeks. Let's take a look at this. So you're going to reload this one. So this number definitely did come down to 5.2% from 5.4. So we did see the unemployment rate come down. Let's take a quick look on these ones. So look at that. There's no way they taper. Like this number for Black or African Americans went from 8.2 to 8.8%. It's a 60 basis point increase. And then when you look at Hispanics or Latinos, that number basically slid from 6.6% down to 6.4. So 20 basis point increase, but an increase over here, right? 60 basis point increase for this category. But overall unemployment rate also coming down from 5.4 to 5.2. This right here is women 20 years and over, 5 to 4.8%, another 20 basis point decrease there. And for Asians, we saw another decline. Another decline here from 5.3% down to 4.6. So that's also a rate that's getting better for this category. But this right here, this was the big catalyst. We basically saw that increase quite a bit. So, all right, real average, that's from the past. Let's open this up. right, so employment so 235,000, following an increase of 1.1 million in July and 960,000 in June. Non-farm employment has risen by 17 million since April 2020. I want to know the specifics here. So transportation and warehousing added 53,000 jobs in August, bringing employment in that industry still above 22,000 since pre-pandemic levels. Employment in professional business services increased 74,000 in August. Employment rose in architectural engineering services by 19,000. Computer system design and related services plus 10,000. Scientific research development plus 7,000. I'll look at hospitality here. So leisure. All right, there we go. So in August, employment in leisure hospitality was unchanged after increasing by average 350,000 per month over the prior 6 months. In August, job gains in arts entertainment plus 36,000 was more to offset the loss in food services. Average hourly earnings, that's also really important, for all employees or private non-farm payrolls rose 17 cents to $30.73 in August, following increases in the prior 4 months. In August, average hourly earnings for the private sector production and non-supervisory employees rose by 14 cents to $25.99. Let's say the markets are pricing that in. So NASDAQ is still up slightly pre-market 20 basis points. We got the S&P pretty much flat up over 13. And we got the yields pushing higher up over 2.2% to 1.3%. So 1.31% right now. And as a result, the markets are pretty much, the NASDAQ is more up than the S&P. Let's take a look at the Dow. Pretty much flat on the day so far. So, all right, let's take a look at the comments here. So this is good for NEO. Let's see how NEO is doing. So this really goes to show that the unemployment rate, even though it dropped overall, but we did see some type of a miss when it comes to the numbers, the actual jobs numbers. And when you look at those specific categories, one that particularly stood out was the blacks or African Americans, which of course Jerome Powell has constantly mentioned. They were not just looking at the total unemployment number, but we want to look at specific ethnicities and wage workers as well, service workers, and want to see like a more broader recovery when it comes to employment. So, you know, leisure hospitality, it's not a surprise because we were already pushing higher quite a bit. We were, like I said, in the last 6 months, that sector alone has generated over 2 million jobs. So the fact that it's unchanged, it's not a surprise, but we want to see job growth in other parts of the sector as well, because that's where the lack of demand, lack of supply is when it comes to the actual workers. So overall, I think this report does raise questions once again if we're going to see any type of taper happen towards the end of September, beginning in October, because of the increase that we saw in that specific categories and unchanged in terms of the jobs numbers, right? In terms of the amount of jobs that we added, that to me is once again a little bit concerning and came in much softer than the actual guidance, right? So I think it was like 720,000. That's why I didn't want to give us a guidance in yesterday's video, because this guidance for the jobs have almost always been missed in the past. Like 720,000 was the expectations, and we came in like 200 something thousand, right? But still, the unemployment rate dropped from 5.4 to 5.2%. So that was very interesting. So yeah, in my opinion, you know, if taper gets postponed a little bit more, then I wouldn't be surprised to see the markets react in a way where we see a little bit of a push higher once again, and the yields start to pull back once again. But right now, the yields are pushing higher, up over 2.2%, and as a result, the broader markets turned negative, with the NASDAQ ETF pretty much flat on the day, and we got the S&P pretty much flat also. All right, so no surprise in hospitality sector, it will go down in September. All the market needs a reason to take profit on Friday levels at these levels. So yeah, that's another thing, right? So Ranjit brings up a great point. The market is at such a high level, and we were just talking about this earlier today, and how there is going to be potentially some rebalancing happening towards the end of this month. That's my expectation, because it's the end of Q3, right? And if that happens, we've usually seen some type of rebalancing, right? If portfolios, money managers, hedge funds, institutional funds, if they need to start rebalancing their portfolio, that's going to really allow them to take some profits off the table, start selling, and as a result, that's going to create some type of volatility in the markets also. We've also got the quadruple witching Friday, which is going to be on Friday, September 17th, so not next Friday, but the following Friday. That's where a lot of futures options contracts also expire all at the same time. So that could also lead to some more volatility in the markets. But right now, we are starting to see that sell-off here once again. So let's see. Let's open up our four-way split chart here. So NIO's down about 0.5% here. Let's take a look at Tesla. Pretty much flat, but we did see a little bit of a sell-off. Let's take a look at Apple. It's flat once again. We're seeing slight sell-off here, all at the same time. Amazon also pulling back, flat. Let's take a look at Microsoft. So Microsoft also, look at that sell-off here, down 22 basis points pre-market. Google's still up. Somehow this stock just continues to stay up. It's so reluctant to actually sell off or be down. Yesterday it was down a little bit over 1%, but now pre-market, despite all the other tech stocks pulling back, we're still seeing a push higher here. So yeah, SPY S&P 500 hasn't had a pullback since February. So yeah, we've talked about this. It's only had a dip in the past, but never a correction since February of this year, I believe. So yep, March, February. This was the last time we saw a correction since October. Actually, even further, since October, we haven't had a correction for the S&P 500. This was the last time we saw an 8% drop for the S&P, and since then we've just consistently pushed higher on some type of a negative divergence. We'll see if that actually plays out, or if you continue to push higher on new all-time highs. All right, let's take a look at AMD. So AMD pretty much flat, not really doing anything, down about 17 basis points pre-market at 109. I think it's at a fair valuation now. 110 was kind of like our target before the end of the year. So I don't expect a lot of movement out of AMD towards the next 3 to 4 months, unless we actually have the Xilinx deal come through for the stock and basically take us back over 125. So that's going to be the next big catalyst, but for the most part, I do expect some type of a consolidation here from AMD and just a sideways movement and trade at around $110, $111 a share. All right, so let's just do our poll. So markets today, you guys have already seen what the pre-market looks like, but it should be interesting because I want to see if there's more people now more towards red or green. So markets today, all right. So you guys are on point with all these polls. You guys, we did a poll earlier before the unemployment report came out. Most of the people thought that we were going down, and which we did, 5.2% for the actual unemployment rate. But let's see what you guys have to say about the polls for the markets, the broader markets. The VIX still up over 2.4%. This is what really is concerning to me. If you're going to see that spike once again in the volatility. 16.49 is where we're trading, but if you do get that spike up to 20, 25, 30 levels, that's when we're going to position ourselves as more of a buyer in the markets. And right now we're just observing. We're not quite buying anything at these levels, nothing aggressive at least, just a little bit here and there to take advantage of some of the undervalued deals in the markets also. But the yields back up over 1.3% here, up over 2.8, and then we got the Nasdaq once again pretty much flat, so is the S&P 500. So what do you think about the news coming out of China that again may pull Chinese stocks down? Here, let me see. So Alibaba. So that was about the what was it, prosperity or something that they're trying to basically ask, or these companies are basically investing in this prosperity mission for, yes, right there. So Alibaba's Hong Kong listed shares fall. Company plans to invest in Xi's initiative. So Alibaba will invest 100 billion yuan or $15.5 billion by 2025 to support of common prosperity, it said, becoming the latest company to pledge support for the initiative driven by China's President Xi Jinping. Other companies that have made similar announcements include Tencent, which also pledged 100 billion yuan, and Geely Automobiles. Tencent shares fell 2.9%, biggest daily percentage decline since August 19th. So yeah, I mean, this right here is a decent catalyst. It's a huge cash expense there for the company over the course of the next 4 to 5 years. But that really depends. I mean, if they're taking control, if they're taking part control like they're doing for Didi, then it's a whole different story, right? Didi, it's up over 4.7% because there was a news coming out for this company that a Beijing government proposes state-run companies acquire control of Didi Global. So under the proposal, an affiliate of Beijing Tourism Group and other state-owned companies would acquire a stake in Didi, and the consortium could acquire a golden share, giving it veto power and board representation. The size of the stake the consortium would acquire Didi and whether it would be approved by senior government officials. So that's a whole different sort of catalyst there, right? I don't think that's what is happening with Alibaba, Tencent, or Baidu or anything. But this obviously just changes the trajectory of where the business goes, because with veto powers and board seats, you can pretty much pivot a lot of the decisions that you're making for the company moving forward. But for Alibaba, I don't think that's the reason. But right now we're still down a little bit over 1.5%, back down to 169. And yesterday was a lot of selling pressure, right? We saw Alibaba trade all the way as 178 and then get sold off all the way down to 172. So a lot of sort of selling pressure here intraday. And let's see where we go, on the day today and moving forward going into next week. But this right here inside that green rectangle, I do expect a lot of sort of demand and a lot of buying pressure at that level. Just take a look at the volume here and how we've traded inside 145 to those 160 levels. I do expect a lot of buyers kind of step in around those levels. So is Powell going to discuss tapering today? No. So Powell is not going to be speaking today. We just had the jobs report. That's all. Powell is going to be talking on, September 22nd. That's where the official FOMC meeting is. So that's the date that you want to put on your calendar. And they're going to release the summary of economic projections, what their expectations is in terms of employment, inflation, interest rates, all that different things. And of course, we got the press conference at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on that day as well. But he's not going to be talking about tapering today. He may talk about here and there, unofficial meets throughout the month. But Wednesday, September 22nd is when we are going to address monetary policy. And of course, next week we've got inflation. So we'll find out where we go from here based on the unemployment number and the rate where we're sitting right now. What's your view on the timing of the next dip and correction? Look, so here's what I think about the markets, right? So just looking at the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ based on where the valuations are. If you take a look at the price to earnings ratio, I think we're sitting well over 37, 38. Historically, we've traded anywhere between 18 and 25, right? That's been kind of like the range, which is considered fair value. Obviously, there's a lot of different metrics that you can look at that are pointing to some type of a correction and or even a crash as far as some people are concerned. That's why they're taking short positions. Consider Michael Burry. He's talking about a big bubble in the markets. So if there's one thing that I do agree with him at some point is the valuation, right? The valuations are high. There's no sort of arguing that fact because historically, even if you take a look at forward price to earnings, forward price to sales, those numbers are just generally higher, right? You can find like deals here and there. Like I like Walgreens, I like Corsair, I like different companies that have been doing really well. But overall, I would say that that valuations have gotten a little bit rich, right? So if that continues, if that takes us even higher, right? Say S&P 500 goes up to like 47, 4,800, the risk of that correction is only going to increase. That's why I'm more interested in having some type of a healthy pullback like we have seen in the past. So this right here was a drop a little bit over 4%. Right here we dropped down a little bit over 3.7%. We have consistently just pulled back, had these dips. In a healthy environment, this is good, right? We just consistently push higher and pull back. But if we keep pushing higher, that's where the risk comes in of even a bigger and bigger drop as we get that valuation reset. So in my opinion, we may see some type of a correction here, either in September or October. Before the end of the year, I mentioned that I wouldn't be surprised to see the S&P 500 pull back over 8 to 10%. That's kind of like the sweet spot. That's reasonable. I don't expect like a crash in the markets because even though we may see the valuations come down, at some point the buyers are going to step in, right? Same thing happened with Alibaba, right? The valuation basically was dirt cheap at 150s, 140s, and 160s, and the buyers stepped in. Kathy Wood stepped in. A lot of others stepped in. Why? Because there's a lot of upside. So, that's kind of like what I'm thinking. That 8 to 10% correction is something that's still on the table for the markets before the end of the year. It's almost impossible for me to pinpoint exactly when that's going to happen, but we can get a good idea when the VIX starts to come down, when there is some increased volatility, when we're getting these macroeconomic data reports that can tilt the markets to the downside. So that's just something to be prepared for and be alert with. And if you do see that, of course, have some cash on the sidelines, buying power to basically start buying once again. Great insight on Visa. That was on my watch list when negative pre-market towards the 200 SMA EMA. That's good because it was higher pre-market. I want the stock to be basically flat or come down to 220s. But Visa has just been selling off, down to 224. Recently, it's just been down a little bit over 12%. And this is a prime example, right? I didn't see any negative catalyst for Visa, right? I didn't see anything that basically led to led to a drop of over 12% in the last like month, right? Entire August was red for Visa. And this is a prime example of some profit taking, right? The valuation for Visa got out of hand. If you take a look at the price to sales, we're trading over 20. Take a look at the price to earnings, we're trading over 40. So those metrics, those traditional valuations, it's trading at a rich valuation. Now, even considering the margins are incredible for the company, right? Visa's got some of the best margins in the world. Probably like, I don't think anybody has over 90% gross margins when it comes to any business that's publicly traded at over $400 billion market cap. And Visa's still able to do over 90% in gross margins. That's crazy. And net margins are over 40%, almost 48%. So for every dollar that Visa generates, $48 trickles down to profit, like earnings per share. Who doesn't want to be in that business, right? But still, I mean, even with those margins, even with that balance sheet, and you know, one of the biggest brands in payment processing and fintech, and you know, Visa just being the great company that it is, still the valuation got out of hand, right? Trading at a pretty rich valuation, and we saw a lot of companies basically ring the register, take profits off the table, hence a 12% drop. So 220, that's the 200 SMA I'm watching very closely for Visa, all the way as low as this $205. It's got a decent yield, about 0.5%. So we'll see how we actually trade intraday, and if there's opportunity to start a position here on this stock. MasterCard is similar too. Yes, so Joshua, MasterCard too. I fully agree. MasterCard is in the same boat. It's been selling off as well, similar to Visa. The only thing is that MasterCard's balance sheet is not quite as good as Visa. I mean, Visa is slightly better in terms of the balance sheet, but I like MasterCard as well. Still down over 13.7%. All right, so let's take a look at. So Caddy, I'm up 50% Ethereum position. Feel that Ethereum is the future, but I feel a pullback coming. Where do you see it? So Ethereum, huge breakout, right, with NFTs, and of course I think you need Ethereum just to actually be able to buy NFTs. The next resistance is pretty much the all-time high at 4260 levels, right? 4200. So this high for the day 4380. So I'm actually going to move that up a little bit more. So this right here is going to be that next sort of resistance at 4365. I think it wants to tag a new all-time high. I think it wants, the way that it's going, I think it wants to go test all-time highs once again. But yes, you know, considering the RSI, considering the MACD, a pullback can be expected because the RSI is overbought. The MACD has just been pushing higher, and this obviously has been over 130% jump here from 1730, 130% gain. So in my opinion, I would watch that resistance right there, 4,300. If we get that breakout, then of course we could see a lot of buyers step in even further. And people, of course, right now we're not even seeing the rally based on leverage. This seems to be very, very low volume rally compared with what we have seen in the past when we were just pushing higher. This right here was a rally for Ethereum from 2,000 all the way to 4,300, and that was a rally of over 113%, right? So, and look at the volume. The volume was pretty high, and now we're kind of seeing very low volume rally here. So 4,300, 4,360 is going to be that first resistance level to watch. But right now, just based on the technicals, also expecting some type of a pullback considering the RSI and the MACD very, very overbought. All right, so yes, lots of people buying due to NFTs. Gas is extremely high right now. Your gas is extremely high too, constantly. Why is NVIDIA not correcting? That is a great question. So NVIDIA in the short term has just been stabilizing a little bit. We're just consolidating sideways for the most part. All right, so let me just open that up in my different chart here. So NVIDIA over here. So just consolidating sideways, not really doing much. 232 is the target, is the resistance that I had on the chart. We got tagged at 230. That's the all-time high for NVIDIA. And this is still going to be, you know, the uptrending pattern, right? So the higher highs and higher lows. And just based on the valuation, just based on the fundamentals, yes, there's a lot of growth potential for this company. I love NVIDIA, but we can't ignore the fundamentals and the valuations either, right? It is trading at over $500 billion market cap. So the market is pricing in a lot of growth and pretty much picture perfection here for NVIDIA as well. So still expecting that over the long term. Again, fundamentals do matter. In the short term, anything can happen. Momentum can take over, catalysts can take over, the price can break out, technicals can take over. So in the short term, a lot of things can happen, but over the long term, you're looking at 4 or 5 years out, fundamentals will matter eventually for NVIDIA, for pretty much all the stocks you see out there, right? So all the companies' fundamentals is what matters over the long term when we're looking 4 or 5 years out. So even if we don't see a correction in the short term, eventually I do see kind of like fair valuation for NVIDIA moving forward, and 209 of course is going to be that support all the way as low as 200. TTCF, Tattooed Chef, has been on a strong rally up another 2% here, breaking out over two of our resistances, 22 and 23.64. That next level to watch for Tattooed Chef is going to be the all-time high pretty much. So we got that all the way up to as high as $27.75, so $27.75 right there is going to be that next sort of resistance level to watch for Tattooed Chef, and it's been on a strong rally. Today, I would like to see Tattooed Chef kind of revalidate 23.64. So this right here is going to be that next support level to keep in mind for Tattooed Chef, right? $23.65 is going to be that support kind of aligned with this previous resistance, and that next resistance is going to be sitting as $27.45 for the company. Autodesk at 287. Let's take a quick look. So Autodesk is at 287. Yes, so we were down a little bit over 5%. So 267 is going to be that next support level to watch. The RSI is certainly coming down. We're very oversold right now. Just about 30, the MACD has been selling off as well. So I'm watching that $267 as the next support for Autodesk, kind of aligned with this previous support and the previous resistance for the company as well. And this is good, right? Because we were again, valuation wise, we talked about it. It was trading at a pretty rich valuation, just considering the price to earnings, price to sales. So if you come over to some of the financials, you'll notice 51 times earnings, 16 times sales is rich for the company. So it's very important for us to constantly monitor these and where we are with these valuations for these companies, right? So huge margin business, software as a service, watching that $267 level to establish a position if I want to for Autodesk. So Ryan, I don't trade options right now, just stocks, but that's something that I will be starting in 2022, mainly in three things. So selling cash secured puts, covered calls, and buying leaps. Those are the three things that I will be doing starting 2022, but right now as it stands, no options yet, only regular stocks. All right, so let's take a look. So good afternoon from London, please talk about NDM. All right, so let's see, and then we'll go over to the actual markets as well, see how the markets are doing. So Nano Dimensions had a decent rally from 537. This right here has been a rally of over 21%. Next resistance to watch is going to be at $7.15. So that right there is going to be that next level and an area of resistance to watch for Nano Dimensions, all the way as high as $9.33, right? So this right there are going to be two resistance levels to keep in mind for Nano Dimensions. And right now we're just trading above our moving averages. So again, there is going to be some consolidation here, and support stays put at 537 for the company. Still in a downtrending pattern though, so we still have been making these lower highs, so there isn't like a clear trend reversal just yet. So keep in mind 715 as the next resistance here. Do you see high valuations across the board, or is it specific name sectors? Do you think Chinese stocks will sell off more if American markets correct? That's a great question. So not across the board, but if you just take a look at mostly the growth space, growth sector, there are companies that are trading at pretty rich valuations, right? There are still companies that are undervalued, right? So I actually love Walgreens. I like Vertex Pharmaceutical. So VRTX, it's just been stabilizing a little bit. This company, in my opinion, is undervalued. So if you come down, it's got great fundamentals, huge revenue growth, margin expansion, profitable company, great balance sheet, plenty of cash on the balance sheet as well, and 26 times earnings and 7 times sales. I think that's very fair. If anything, it's undervalued at these prices, just based on my estimates for the future as well for the company. So it's not across the board for all sectors, it's specific stocks which basically also influence the broader markets, right? So if they start correcting, then the broader markets are going to take a little bit of a breather as well. So we got the NASDAQ ETF QQQ pretty much up over 4 basis points, and then we got the S&P up over 5. The yield's still pushing higher, up over 3% here, up 1.327, and we got the Dow Jones ETF is basically flat on the day so far. So we already did AMD, Kareem. If you want to go back and check out the analysis, we already did AMD earlier. So what do you think about Apple trend before the September launch? By the way, I finally got my Apple MacBook M1 chip. I've been waiting for it for a long time, and I finally ordered it. So it should be here in a few weeks. So very excited about that. We also got the power out in the BB. Yes, that's gonna be an ongoing issue. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to fix that here in India. But yeah, congrats on the new MacBook, by the way. Thank you. I'm really excited. I had a tough decision to make between the Pro and the Air. A lot of people were saying Pro is much better, but I think the only differences I saw was a couple hours of extra battery life. But ended up getting the Air because I think I like the design for the Air. Pro is like too bulky for me, so I think Air kind of fit my criteria. So M1 chip is awesome. That's great. David, no, I didn't get the Pro. A lot of people were telling me to get the Pro. I got the Air, by the way. A few weeks, yeah, I know. By the time I get it, there'll be a new one. But honestly, I don't want to overpay for anything. Like M2, I know is gonna come out very, very soon. The new chip that's rumored to come out. But I wanted to get the M1 anyway, and just with what my needs are, and to be able to do, because M2, had I waited for that one, it would have been like another 6 months or so, 5 to 6 months. And my current laptop is in no state to basically go for another 6 months. I've got a Razer right now, but it's just been using it for 4+ years, almost 5 years, and it's been doing really well. But now it's recently started to kind of die down on me. So 155, next resistance for Apple. We'll see if actually we see a breakout on that news. But like I was saying, 2.54 trillion is quite a lot, right? It's quite a bit in terms of the valuation, in terms of where we are with the market cap. So that's something to consider here. I don't expect like a huge breakout on September's event. I mean, all the people are expecting already what they're going to announce with the iPhones and the Apples and whatnot. But this right here has been a strong uptrend. This is something that I identified today. Just pushing higher, kind of trading in this range, and we're just tagging this higher high at 155. So that is the resistance near term. Support stays put at 150, all the way as low as 145, kind of aligned with that 50 exponential moving average for Apple as well. But the real question really is how much more upside there is left, right, after we get a breakout. In my opinion, at least in 2021, not a whole lot. And of course, Apple will be announcing their third quarter results, their fourth quarter fiscal year 2021 results, and the full year fiscal year 2021 results in October for the quarter ending in September. So calendar year Q3 ends this month, but Apple's fiscal year and fourth quarter ends this month. And they're going to start Q1 in October. So October, November, December, usually the strongest quarter for Apple as well. All right, so he talked about Daniel Ives' video on Apple where he talks about a 3 trillion market cap. Yep, so I've watched that. We didn't have had him on the channel, right, Daniel Ives? Probably we'll do like another interview with him very soon. But yeah, I think 175 is his target. That's another 13%. 175 is kind of like his base case target, if I remember correctly. I think his bull case was over 200, and a $3 trillion market cap from 2.5 trillion. So, but that was also considering, the last time we talked to him, that was also considering that Apple also announces some type of exposure in the EV market, the electric vehicles, and they haven't really done that yet. So, if they are able to partner with some companies, and if they are able to basically design and get some exposure in the market share when it comes to electric vehicles, it's a $5 trillion market. That alone adds significant amount of value to Apple as a company, right? So that's what the real catalyst is going to be if we're going to drive Apple up to 3 trillion, 3.5 trillion in the future. But that would be like really pushing that market cap, right? All right, so Intel, long-term thoughts. Intel, I am bullish over the long term. The real question really is how the new CEO performs and where he takes the company. Very, very interested in this one at these prices. Will probably be establishing a position very soon with the strong yield at 2.5%. Great value play. Again, this is not like a growth company. It's not growing revenue substantially. I think the revenue has been declining a little bit year over year. But just based on where we are, based on the all-time highs, and based on the actual price to sales, price to earnings, price to cash flow, price to book, all those ratios, I think it's severely undervalued at the moment. But right now it's not moving because there's not enough catalyst to move it. And we need to see some growth. We need to see some retention when it comes to the market share, and not lose it to AMD and NVIDIA in order for Intel to actually see that move to the upside and successfully break out over those moving averages, break out over 58, break out over $69, and trade back up to all-time highs. I think that's going to be really, really important for Intel as well. All right, let's take a look at SAVA, Cassava Sciences. I think this one has been a very, very popular stock. It's up another 11%, so we're getting a perfect bounce off of that support and that 200 SMA at close to $50, $51 a share. So right there is going to be that support level to watch, and right now we're seeing that 11% move to the upside. The RSI is oversold, the MACD is oversold, so it makes sense why we're seeing that reversal trade for this company as well. And that next resistance to keep in mind is going to be at closer to that $64 level, at least in the near term, right there, kind of aligned with this previous resistance where we have gone rejected at for this company as well. So we'll see if we actually do get that breakout over this level, but support level stays put at 49, close to $50 per share level. Walgreens, let's take a look. Walgreens slightly down about 20 basis points. It's been on a rampage here recently, so 2.96, almost 3% day yesterday. A couple of days ago, it was up over 4%. And of course, from lows of 46.28, it's up a little bit over 12% as well. My near-term target is going to be at $54. So that is going to be very, very important to watch. So Apple and Google in-house chips and processors working some different Intel and AMD. Yeah, so I read that catalyst yesterday that Google Chromebooks are going to be using their own processors and chips. So that obviously does hurt Intel and advanced micro devices a little bit over the long term. We'll see how that all kind of gets priced in moving forward. But Amazon up over 23 basis points. Let's see the broader markets here. The S&P recovered over 11 basis points. We got the Dow Jones up over 8, and the Nasdaq still up over 6 basis points. So we got the Dow and the S&P taking charge here, and we got the QQQ pretty much flat, just about 6 basis points in the green, with the VIX coming down up just over 6 basis points also on the day. All right, so we got about 25 minutes. We got plenty of time, and there's a lot of stocks that I want to go over with you guys. So thoughts on Amazon, will it cover the gap? So in my opinion, yes, but not until after we see some type of a new support get established for Amazon. So in the past, I've talked about how 33.97, 3400 is going to be that support level to keep in mind. The RSI has been pushing higher, the MACD has been pushing higher because of this rally. So from lows of 31.78, it's up over 11%, 12%. So it's been on a decent rally here, right? And now we're starting to see a little bit of a selling pressure come in, just considering where we got rejected, right? So if you were to identify this line, so let me just do that over here for Amazon. So if you take a look at exactly where we're getting rejected for Amazon, it's going to be this level. And in the past, you'll notice that we have gone rejected exactly at this level from June 23rd, June 24th, right? That was around that 3,500, 3,520 levels. So got rejected, broke out, validated this support, so previous resistance acting as a support, gapped it down, filled this, majority of this gap was filled, and now we're seeing that resistance or that rejection once again from this previous resistance. So that's what's happening with Amazon at the moment. So moving forward, I wouldn't be surprised for us to see a retest of maybe like this 3,400 level before pushing higher once again, back up to over 3,580, and then breaking out to new all-time highs again for Amazon also. So that's kind of like the analysis here. I don't expect us to fully just break out, continue to push higher to all-time highs, break out over 3,800, but instead take it slowly a little bit, consolidate sideways, take a breather before pushing higher for the next leg up for Amazon. Catterson, what does that even mean? Is this just the new last name you guys are giving me? All right, let's take a look at, so Palantir we already went over. Autodesk we already went over as well. Let's take a look at Corsair Gaming. See how that stock is doing. So up over 1.7% yesterday, not a lot of movement, but the volume was kind of like decent. I don't want to say it was too much or too high. So support levels to watch is going to be at $28.50. So Urban Salva allegations of fraud. Yeah, so make sure that you guys do the research on the companies that we haven't covered, right? So there's a lot of stocks that I'm going over that fundamentally I don't know much about. So make sure that you're doing your due diligence on those companies because I haven't been keeping up with the research on companies like SAVA or some of the other ones that are in the small cap, mid cap space that may be going up or down. I'm just doing it from a technical standpoint. But of course, when we look at companies like Corsair, Vertex and Palantir, AMD, Tesla, those I have a really good understanding on where the fundamentals are and the catalysts as well for those. So make sure that you are doing additional research on those as well to see where the fundamentals are and what that growth story looks like for those companies, where the valuations are for those companies as well. So for Corsair, still undervalued just based on the valuations. The earnings were decent. In my opinion, they weren't great, but they weren't bad either. But we did see a drop of over 6%, and right now we're just hovering over that 28.50 level of support, getting rejected at a 50 EMA, but of course the Wall Street Bets volume kicked in to push us back over $30.75, and a lot of profit taking happened. So just a lot of consolidation here. It's been selling off. It's been on a downtrend pretty aggressively, but 28.50 is going to be the next support, and resistance is going to stay put at close to $34 to $35 to watch. So what are we looking for in jobs day? So jobs day already happened. Well, 8:30 a.m. is when we actually got that data that came out. So unemployment rate basically dropped down from 5.4 to 5.2%, and we added just over 250,000 jobs in the month of August, which was far lower than the expectations of 720,000 jobs. This, again, in my strong opinion, again, this is my speculation, this raises questions for the Fed if they are going to be interested in tapering in September, October, or they're going to be able to postpone it, just considering how sort of the job growth wasn't as substantial, and the blacks, African Americans, that unemployment rate basically started pushing higher, right? So that went from, I think it was an 80 basis point increase month over month, but all the other ones basically dropped. So that could be one of the reasons why the Fed could tell us that we are still far away from substantial further progress. And even though the jobs were improving in August, we saw once again a little bit of a decline, but the total unemployment rates went down. That's good, but the Fed doesn't look at the overall unemployment rate. They look at specific details within the employment report. So that once again raises some questions, and as a result, the markets are pretty much flat right now, and we're seeing a little bit of indecision in the markets also. All right, where does Upstart stop? You tell me. I don't know. I mean, this company has just been pushing higher. It's at 243 now. It's up another 1.7%. It's just been on a consistent, strong uptrend here, and yeah, I mean, this has just been very, very. So RSI has been very elevated. It's been elevated at over 74 levels, overbought for a long time, and the MACD has been pushing higher as well. So very, very strong rally for Upstart and just staying up there. It's pretty surprising to me that we haven't really seen a correction for Upstart. We have seen some pullbacks here when it was down over 8%, so that might have been like the beginning of something, but then the dip got very quickly bought up, and the volume's been kind of down as well. But in terms of a resistance, there is none at the moment until after we see the sellers kind of step in for the stock and we see some type of a proper correction. Support is going to stay put at close to 170 levels, kind of aligned with the 50 exponential moving average as well. So Royce says tapering for sure pushed till at least October, November. So yeah, I mean, we're going to find that out at the end of September, right? And when they're going to actually start doing that. Again, my expectation is that they are going to announce something. They have to give us some clear communication as to what their plans are of doing tapering and what they're planning to do. If not by the end of this year, then certainly, in my opinion, early next year is when they're going to start doing that. All right, let's take a look at Roku. So ROKU, it's down over 2.74%, breaking down under 339. 292 is going to be that next support level to watch. I think somebody was asking me about this stock in our Discord today, and I talked about how I think the valuation was an issue, the fundamentals. So let's see, statistics-wise, 224 times earnings. Right, that's quite a bit. It's quite a lot. 224 times earnings is certainly a lot in terms of the valuations. Right, very rich. 22 times sales, also very rich. So the valuation is an issue for Roku. Even though I like the company, the growth has been very, very strong. And let's take a quick look on the balance sheet here and some of the other fundamentals. So cash flows annually, 28 million to 52 million. So that's good. Growing cash flows. Balance sheet, quick estimate here. So cash. So plenty of cash, over $2 billion versus $463 million in debt. I just want to take a look at the share dilution. So total common shares outstanding from 99 million back in 2017 to current 133 million. So they basically raised over 44 million shares, which is not bad. That's about a 33% jump in total shares outstanding over the last 4 years. 33%, 4 years, I think that's less than 10% in share dilution per year. So that fits our criteria of low dilution, low debt, great fundamentals in terms of the margins and growing revenues and free cash flow growth, but the valuation is where we don't agree. Valuation is a little bit high and rich for this company. So 339, we're starting to break down a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see a retest of that 300 SMA or that $291 support. We've kind of validated that level a couple of times in the past. So that would be the level to watch very, very closely for Roku. And certainly it's been a selling off, right? From highs of 491. It's down a little bit over 31%, but that's just a valuation reset once again to receive for the company. Just remember this, right? Every time we see a market correction or a crash, the companies that have the highest valuation, that are trading at a very, very rich premium, are going to be the ones that drop the most, right? Are going to be the ones that drop the most because they are the ones that are trading at the riskiest valuation. So if we see a next correction, I do expect Upstart to absolutely get destroyed. And even though I have a position Upstart, I'm bullish on Upstart, I can't ignore the fact that it's trading at a rich valuation, right? So those are some things that you always have to keep in mind, because if you ask me today if Upstart is a buy, over the long term, I still believe in the company. But if you're okay paying a premium, understanding that it's very overvalued at these prices, then sure, right? That's an analysis that you can do. But in my opinion, for me personally, I would not start a position here for Upstart. I'm not even adding on Upstart here, because I don't want to pay $240 a share for Upstart here. So I think that's kind of like what we have to understand. Valuations always matter in every market. They may not matter in the short term. They do get stretched. They do get contracted. But over the long term, they always matter, right? Where the companies are trading, and always look at them at a market cap basis, right? I don't even focus on the price. In my opinion, it's always important for us to look at the market cap as a whole and what the overall company valuation is. All right, so let's take a look at Spotify. So SPOT, Spotify has been on a strong breakout here, starting to pull back a little bit, down about 40 basis points pre-market, nothing crazy, but $240 right there is going to be that next support level to watch for Spotify as well. So that right there is going to be that next support, and even if you do see some type of a retest here at 240, I could see that acting as a new support and then pushing higher back up to 275, 276 levels as well. So David, with that being said, are you expecting a major correction for Google? I want to get in on Google, but I think Google trades at a very fair valuation. I was surprised to actually find out that Google's valuation is quite fair based on where it's trading right now. So 31 times earnings as an information technology company with high margins. I think 31 is just like borderline, one step rich. That's it. It's not like exuberant levels. 31 is very reasonable. We've seen that basically contract over the course of the last 4 years when it was at 58, and it's gone up to 31. That just goes to show that even though the market multiple contracted over the years, their financials did a really good job in growing substantially to get it more aligned with the valuation. So you'll notice that 58 went all the way down to 31, but their earnings grew so much that even at 31, the market cap is much higher, right? And 9 times sales, that's gone up a little bit over the last 4 years, but I think that's fair. It's not overvalued. It's not specifically undervalued, but I would say like it's fair in the markets. But just technically, the RSI is coming down, the MACD is coming down. So technically speaking, based on the RSI and MACD, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a pullback. And ideally, I would like to get Google at close to 2,500, right? That would be like the price for me that I would like to pay for this company. And I did a complete analysis on this. You're more than welcome to watch that as well. All right, let's see here. So falling caddy, I see risk more reward for sure. Perfect. Do you think Visa is overvalued still? So Visa, unfortunately, yes. Price to sales, it's trading at over, the last time I checked, was over 20, and price to earnings at over 40. So great business, love the company. Price to earnings at 47, price to sales at 22, price to cash flow at 37. That's also pretty rich, in my opinion, for Visa. So it's important for us to always consider those metrics. And again, I've been spending a lot of time kind of building a whole tutorial and courses on fundamental analysis. It will literally, I kid you not, teach you A to Z everything that you need to know from a fundamental analysis standpoint. We're going to go over all the 3 core financial statements. We're going to go over the ratios. We're going to go over the actual putting a price target on the stock based on 5 different valuation models. And it's also going to go over valuations in general, right? How to read these different metrics and what's fair valuation versus undervaluation versus overvaluation for the company. So we're going to go over all of that that I've been spending a lot of time in, just like building that over the last month. All right, so let's break down Teladoc very quickly. So TDOG, just consolidating sideways, just breaking below that lower highs. That 50 EMA is going to be 149, so that right there is going to be that resistance level to watch. And support is going to stay put at close to 142. So 142 is going to be that support, and we need that breakout over that 50 EMA in order for us to see that breakout back up to 166, right? That right there is going to be that next resistance level to watch. But in the near term, 50 EMA is going to be that first resistance to keep in mind. So BNGO we've already gone over, and let's take a look at let's see. So Teladoc, strongest support 135, 132. So yep, around those levels at close to 130, 135. in the past. We have kind of seen that support play out here, and of course validated that support coming in from May 12th, 11th as well. All right, so going over that in Patreon group, right? So Patreon is going to be a little bit different. We're releasing those tutorials once per month, but what I'm working on is going to be a whole series of tutorials, kind of chapter by chapter. It's going to have 5 sections that basically go over everything from beginner to advanced, everything that you need to know, literally everything in fundamental analysis. And then of course on top of that, we're going to be building out a technical analysis course as well on top of that, to kind of like get aligned both of those disciplines, and then you'll be able to get like a full rounded approach on everything I personally know is going to be in that course. So that is going to be made available, I think, if the timeline is right, in the beginning of October. If it's too much, if it's overwhelming, I need to put in a lot of different sections into it, then it may get pushed out to the middle of October or like in November, but it will definitely be out there before the end of this year. All right, so we got about 10 minutes left for the markets to open. The markets are starting to pull back. Once again, we got the S&P down about 6 basis points. You got the NASDAQ down about 11, and we got the Dow Jones down over 9 basis points as well. So all three pulling back a little bit, with Tesla pretty much flat so far. And we got Upstart still up over 1.2%. Google still up. Let's take a look at Apple, and we'll put in NEO over here. Just prepare for market open here. All right, so let's see. Cannot wait for the fundamental course to start. Yes, so that would be very, very exciting. I'm super excited. It's gonna go over everything, and you'll be able to, like, after the course, you'll be able to like put price targets on all the stocks. You'll be able to pinpoint exactly like 2025 based on 5 different valuation models. You'll be able to tell where DraftKings is gonna be, where Apple is gonna be, where Google is gonna be, all these different companies. Abdullah says, I will be with you in Patreon until 2030. All right, so individual stocks, we already went over Teladoc. How was the jobs report? It was a little bit lower, soft numbers. Miss on the jobs added, but unemployment rate still coming down. So that was interesting, but we did see specific category unemployment numbers rate go up. So it really depends what the Fed and how they see that in the September meeting, and when they release the SEP as well, the Summary of Economic Projections. Where did you learn, Caddy? So fundamental analysis I learned in school. I went to school for finance, so I learned most of the valuations, most of the earnings and revenue and different growth trends and the statement of cash flows and all this, like the financial statements there. And then technicals I just learned by doing a lot, and spent a lot of hours just analyzing different charts and going over different patterns and just getting a good understanding on those things. Facebook, let's take a quick look. So Facebook's starting to come down. 356 is going to be that next support level. So if you take a look at Facebook and Google, they have almost an identical chart just validating that 50 EMA. So we've just been pushing higher. Every time Facebook gets to that 50 EMA, that's a dip buying opportunity for Facebook, in my opinion. It has been in the past. Same with Google, right? If you take a look at Google's chart, very similar to the S&P 500. Every time it comes down to that 50 EMA, the buyers have stepped in and pushed us higher. So it's got a very similar pattern. Support level is going to stay put at close to 357. Resistance is going to stay put at close to 377 at the moment. Anav, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. So Ryan, I don't trade crypto. I mostly trade Mara, which is a miner in the crypto space. It's up another 3.2%, so waiting for 44.50 breakout here. And we've been kind of trading this for like the last 3 months, since I want to say like in the beginning of like earlier May and June. So strong rallies here that we've seen, close to 90, 100%. But next resistance on the day is going to be 44.50. That's the level that I'm watching very closely for Mara. We perfectly got tagged at that level yesterday. And the resistance to watch beyond that is going to be all the way to highs of $57, $58 per share. That's going to be the all-time high. We've done a really good job. Mara's actually done a very, very good job kind of pushing higher, and just been rallying consistently with the Bitcoin. So that right there is going to be that next resistance level to watch for Mara. All right, so let's take a look at Lucid. So Lucid Motors, $20.79. So this right here is going to be that next resistance level to watch for the company. So that right there is going to be that next resistance, and of course that support is going to stay put at $17.50 and $16. We've done a really good job kind of recovering most of that sell-off that we saw on September 1st. So you'll notice that we did drop over 10%, and the buyers stepped in to push us back, and there's still a small gap that we can fill for Lucid. $20 is still going to be that next target in the near term. That is still a resistance to watch if we are able to successfully fill that gap for Lucid as well. Let's see if there are any opportunities in crypto related stocks. One of the stocks that's been on my watch list has been CleanSpark. I believe this is also a crypto stock. It's still not moved up. Feel free to kind of chime in on what you guys think and what your thoughts are on this. But I was under the impression that it's also kind of like a company that's, software company, control technology that enables plug-and-play enterprise solution to modern energy challenges. Its service consists of intelligent energy monitoring controls, but it is quite related to cryptocurrency, no? Because I was under the impression that it was, but it does provide like energy grid monitoring and controls, microgrid design, engineering. Okay, so it may not be like directly in that sector for cryptocurrencies like Riot and Mara are. So Riot and Mara basically trade off of price for Bitcoin and Ethereum. But CleanSpark, I was under the impression that it was, but it hasn't really made any moves. Right, it's still down from $42 down to $14 and a 66% drop. So still watching this stock. It's on my watch list, but it hasn't really done anything. And again, this will be like a riskier play. It's going to be part of our swing trading portfolio, not the long-term play. So they're a microgrid company who is creating lots of Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, I did think that they were related to Bitcoin, but they haven't been like moving all that much, right? Very low volume, and it hasn't been pushing higher despite how higher Bitcoin has gone during that same time period. So they recently bought in their data center in Atlanta, which will increase their Bitcoin mining. So yeah, I mean, even if all those catalysts are true, I don't understand why the stock is not moving, right? If it's not directly correlated with Bitcoin. When I was doing my research on finding the stock that has a perfect correlation between Bitcoin and cryptos, basically came to a final conclusion of being Mara being the one, because even Riot I think hasn't really made much move to the upside. It's still high, still low from its all-time highs. It's down over 54%, whereas Mara's movement has been, picture perfect from where we have seen lows of, it's up over 125%. So basically I was looking into three stocks, Mara, Riot, and CleanSpark, and Mara was the one that basically was attracted to the most from this company. All right, so we got about 2 minutes left for the markets to open. HUD is a miner which holds the most self-mining Bitcoin, and then MicroStrategy was another one, but they don't actually mine Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken. They actually just hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. But yes, HUD is also, looks like it had a huge gain here of over 200%. So this certainly looks like a company that was very correlated, up over 10% yesterday, up another 7% today. So Kit, why? Thank you so much for mentioning that. I'm going to keep this on my watch list. It's a cryptocurrency mining blockchain infrastructure company. It's focused solely on mining Bitcoin. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So strong move here on the company. So Yushas, when are you planning to teach the fundamental analysis? So our Patreon, we have regular periodic tutorials that are released, so that doesn't stop. That is still going to happen like once a month. This month I'm preparing on a fundamental and technical analysis course. That is still going to happen once per month, like one tutorial per month. I'm still going to post that on Patreon for all the members. But on the side, I'm also building like a course or like a tutorial that is going to be made available. It's going to have all these sections in it that's going to be available by the end of this month, starting October, or by the end of November as well. But before the end of the year for both fundamental and technical analysis. So that's kind of like the plan moving forward. So, all right, this one was that, and then there was another one, MicroStrategy, that we were looking at, MSTR. So you'll notice that MicroStrategy also didn't quite move all that much, even though we did see a little bit of a push higher, 70 to 73%. We were still off the highs of 1,300, down about 48%. Bitwise Crypto Industry Innovation ETF. So yeah, we'll see if the ETF actually gets approved, right? Bitcoin ETF, that's what a lot of people are focused on and waiting for. I would certainly, if there's an Ethereum ETF, I would definitely be very interested, and I want something that's low expense ratios. Like, of course, Grayscale is very, very expensive. Then you take a look at the fees that they're charging. So if there's ever any approval for those, then I would be very interested in kind of like those ETFs for Ethereum and Bitcoin. There we go. The markets are starting to pull back here. So we're seeing a little bit of a sell-off here pre-market. These right there are going to be the indexes. So we'll see where we trade today. So our poll is finally coming to an end. We got 50-50. That is about as flat as we get, and a split vote between green and red. So very, very interesting with 382 votes. So that was awesome. That was interesting. All right, so the markets are open here. And the NASDAQ just opened. The S&P is down about 15 basis points. The Dow pulling back over 24. And we got the NASDAQ down about 11 as well. So Visa's coming down to 224. Let's take a quick look. Let's see. We're kind of bouncing off of that 200 SMA. I just want to see a little bit more momentum to the downside for Visa. Apple catching bids here, pushing higher up over 0.5%. NEO pretty much flat here. So Javo here. The course will contain both fundamental and technical. So there will be two courses. There will be one for fundamental analysis and one for technical analysis. So there will be two, but they will have everything that you need to know for both schools of thought, for both disciplines. And then in the future, next year, I will be doing a course on macroeconomics as well, and Excel spreadsheets. So if that's something you're interested in, you can learn that as well. But yes, it will include both fundamentals and technicals for the most part. It'll go over everything that you need to know in analyzing companies and, of course, doing technical analysis as well. All right, so let's see the markets. Tesla pretty much flat. We got Upstart up another 2.8% to $246, hitting new all-time highs at $247.20. We got Apple up over 40 basis points, and NEO starting to pull back down about 1% almost, just at $40. We'll see if $40 continues to hold up. I just want to pull up Visa here. So Visa, all right, we're starting to push higher a little bit, up over 22 basis points. There we go, NEO taking it in. It is. $40 is going to be that next resistance, right? Well, $41 is going to be that next resistance, 41.50-ish level for NEO. All right, so Visa, I'm watching this stock today specifically because it's down a little bit over 12%. But overall, if you take a look at the markets, if you go from top to bottom, let's see what's actually trading and where it's trading. So we got Mara up almost 5%, 44.30. I don't know if you actually did get a breakout or not. So 44.50 is a level. 44.58 is a high for the day. What do you guys think? Are we going to get a breakout here? So 50-50 in a group of bulls is bearish. I don't think it's a group of bulls. I think we just understand I think our community understands the concept of valuations. I think we do a really good job in understanding fundamentals and just understanding, you know, where the opportunity really is, right? So I think that just goes to show that we're not blindly understanding that we have to be bullish in the markets, right? We have to understand the risk and we have to be prepared for some type of a pullback. So I think 50-50 is a good representation of us understanding where the markets are and where the valuations stand for a lot of these companies. So I think that's a good sign, in my opinion, for that poll. So VAR breaking out today, yep. So 44.58. Let's see if we actually do get that push higher, beyond $45, $46. So that's that. We got the NASDAQ buyers kind of stepping in, pretty much flat on the day so far, and we got the S&P also down about 14 basis points, and the Dow is still down over 18. So NASDAQ catching more of an uptrend here relative to the S&P and the Dow. All right, TTWO, so Take Two Interactive. This is a stock that I'm watching very closely. Let's see, so we are down 0.5%, 161. We've just been consolidating sideways. So consolidation over here, 151, I will be adding more. So Tesla broke 730. Let's take a quick look. So Tesla pulling back, yep, 730. We're just hovering over that level. NEO also is fighting some buyers here, and let's see, Visa 225. Well, wait, I'm gonna see if it actually does come down, because my support, I mean, it's obviously bouncing off of that 200 simple moving average. I'm not too worried here. We're getting a perfect balance off of that 200 SMA, but 220, that's kind of like the support here in the past, and even as low as 205. Those right there are going to be two support levels to watch. But if I do make any decisions on this today, I will be sending out the alerts, of course, in the Discord. But yeah, the broader markets here with a lot of stocks pulling back, and they are going red. Let's see, we got Mara, Clover Health, Tattooed Chef, another 4.5%. Oof, 24.89. Look at that rally here. Did it just, yeah, it just completely blew past that resistance. I feel like there's a lot of FOMO kind of kicking in for Tattooed Chef. 27.42 is going to be that next sort of resistance level to watch for the company. So previous resistance here, a couple times we've gone rejected here. So Tattooed Chef, strong rally here from $15.54, 61%, 73% at $27.28. And yeah, definitely been a strong momentum here. I'm fine with it at 220s. Mylan, come on, you should be loving Visa at under 200. You should be loving Visa at like 175, right? That's what we understand, right? The lower it gets, the lower the risk gets, right? The more upside it creates. So always when the stock comes down, less risk, higher upside. The stock continues to go higher. Like, I'm more scared of Upstart right now than I am for Visa, for like in terms of risk profile, right? So I'm more scared about Upstart, even if it's going higher. I'm more scared of it than Visa if it starts to come down. I'll be more excited if it comes down for Visa. But Tesla just hovering over 730. We got Lemonade down over 1.3%, just over 78.21. Facebook slightly down about 0.5%. ARKG ETF down about 1% here. Take-Two Interactive is down over 80 basis points, just over at 160. Palantir is down about 1%, just over 26.25. Palantir has been stabilized a little bit, right? It's been consolidating sideways, so that's good. I think that's a good sign that we're starting to see the volume kind of stay higher, and buyers also stepped in for Palantir to stay at these levels. It's not moving up crazy. There's not a lot of volatility for Palantir, which is good, and we're just consolidating sideways for the most part. Then we got Fiverr that's down up to 180, 120, down about 1%. That's normal considering the whole markets are pulling back here. And let's see, all the way down to the list. Pretty much everything else is flat. We got AMD flat, 109. Then the ones that are in the green, we got Coinbase slightly up over 1%. Mara still fighting that 44.50 level, so high for the day is again 44.58. And Upstart is up another 2.6% to 246. And then we got Micron pretty much flat at 74.43. Visa 224.73. And yeah, pretty much everything else is flat, slightly down. Roku is down over 3.4%, 334. So we are getting that breakdown, but we are starting to see that buyers also step in. So 339 is going to be that resistance to watch intraday for the stock also. APPS has been on a strong rally. So again, congratulations to everyone who's been trading or investing in this company. It's seen a strong momentum here to the upside, 35-36% gain. Next resistance I'm watching for APPS is going to be at $67. So that right there is going to be that next resistance and that next target level to watch for Digital Turbine. All right, so let's scroll down here. Roblox, AMC slightly down. Pinterest pulling back a little bit. And then we got Alibaba down over 1.5% with Enphase Energy. Also down. Trade Desk down about 1.6%, 76.77. So Trade Desk has also been on a consistent push higher from lows of $47 on May 10th and rallied over 91%. So it's been on a consistent uptrend here. Now just hovering over those moving averages. So support level to watch for the stock is going to be roughly, I believe. So there are going to be some moving averages, of course, but there is going to be some more support at close to 67.43. So that is also going to be a support in case we see that breakdown for Trade Desk below those moving averages. Let's take a look at Zoom. There's any recovery down about 20, basically flat here so far. Still got a big, massive gap here to fill, all the way up to 333. So we'll see if Zoom can fill that gap in, but for the most part, we're just consolidating sideways. The RSI is oversold, the MACD is oversold, so very, very oversold here. But the valuation remains rich for the company. So swing trade, yes, there's opportunity. Long term, not in my opinion. Not quite yet. There could be in the future, but not yet. NEO down over 1% here, not a surprise. Tesla pulling back. Let's take a look at Apple and Amazon. Amazon just about 0.5%. So the broader markets are just, pretty stable. 24 basis points decline here for the Nasdaq, and then we got the S&P also down over 26 basis points. The Dow also down over 30. So nothing crazy. Just a little bit of a pullback here from a couple days, which is again very, very much warranted considering where we were. And the VIX is up over 5%. Our mighty VIX. We'll see if we actually continue to push higher. That 20 level is going to be that next level to watch. Alan, they already did report the jobs numbers. They came out about an hour ago, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We already broke that down. So if you want to go back on the live stream, kind of watch that part and then jump over to the live stream, you're more than welcome to. But the unemployment rate did drop, but the jobs also came in much softer than expectations. DocuSign, next resistance at 310. We're seeing that push higher, up over 3.6%. Definitely pushing higher here. So that next resistance is going to be staying put at close to $310 for DocuSign. Again, if you get that breakout, then yes, there is going to be some more momentum or some more potential to the upside. So resistance 310, support level stays put at close to that 50 EMAs at roughly $286, all the way as low as $238 a share. And DocuSign, very similar to Adobe, has been pushing higher, just reluctant to come down. Adobe from March 5th has been on a consistent uptrend here, 60% gain. And DocuSign, I think, has had very similar gains as well, coming in from May 14 and 15. It's up another 71%. So very similar moves for both of these companies as well. TSMC, let's take a quick look. Or no, that's not it. So TSMC, or TSM, my bad. There we go. Up over 2%. That's good. That's a very, very strong move to the upside here. Breaking out over 121. So there we go. 121 breakout happening for TSM right now. $127 is going to be that next target, that next resistance level to watch. For the company's support stays put at close to 121 for TSM. So low for the day, 121.26, right? So after we saw that breakout, we got that retest of 121.26 before we started pushing higher for TSM as well. SoFi, pretty much flat on the day, just over $15. We got the 50 EMA coming in from the top, still inside this downtrending channel right here. And we got a huge gap here to fill in. 116.60 is going to be that next resistance. Support sits put at 12.40, actually sits at $13 right there. And we also got the RSI still pushing higher, making higher lows. Alright, so let's see where Visa is trading at. Look at that, NEO starting to push higher once again, $40.35, buyers stepping in. So NEO prediction still at 75 at the end of the year. That's a great question. So in my opinion, the prediction has been $75 before the end of the year, but the real question really comes down to what those delivery numbers and revenue numbers are going to look like. If those change, then obviously those estimates are going to change. And we already saw from August delivery numbers which were far lower than the expectations, but we have a reason for that. In September, the expectation is over 8,600 to 9,600 vehicles. That's what we need to do in order to hit our guidance of anywhere between 22,500 and 23,500. If those numbers don't get hit, then our future guidance contract. So we may not hit like 95,000 as previously anticipated for the year. Then of course that price target comes down a little bit and gets pulled down. But if we continue to stay on track, and if NEO is able to battle through this production halts and the supply chain issues, and we continue to kind of meet those guidance numbers and come out with record deliveries for the quarter, then yes, that number stays put in terms of end of year target, considering that we got the NEO Day event, we got the ET7 launch, and we got the mass market, two brands also coming up with, NEO is announcing two different cars under two different brands for the mass market as well. So that in itself is going to be very, very important. All right, so VIX is 15.5 before going higher in my prediction. So let's see, just over 4%, nothing crazy there. I just want to look at Visa very quickly. So still up over 30 basis points, just under 225. So my target price for Amazon is at $36.94. Do you think that's reasonable to expect for a pullback for Amazon? $36.94. $36.94, so like around this level right here. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable target price for Amazon. Again, my price target, I think I did a complete fundamental analysis on this and a valuation over the course of the next 4 to 5 years, expecting Amazon to eventually do $1 trillion in revenues, and that I think I forgot what the price target was. I have to kind of rewatch my video. But we did an analysis. It was kind of like a reasonable return of 11-12% annualized for the next 4 to 5 years for Amazon as well. So I do see a lot of potential here for the company, 1.74 trillion. I think it's got a lot of upside in the future. And $4,000 is going to be a near-term target. to as high as what that number was in that video for 2026. So how about turning green? That's good. A lot of buyers kind of stepping in, so we are only down about 60 basis points, 170, 171 levels. So definitely pushing higher. A lot of buyers stepping in. Same with the Neo. So we're seeing that recovery back up with a really bullish candle on the 5-minute chart of $40.67. Visa starting to pull back here, down to 224, pretty much flat on the day, with Apple also flat, and so is Tesla. So the markets are pretty much flat on the day. Nothing crazy happening here. Alright guys, so I'm actually going to end the live stream here. It's been about an hour and 30 minutes, a longer live stream because of the jobs report that came out. But overall, I think the markets are just flat so far. If there are any market updates and of course any buy and sell alerts, I will be sending those out in the Discord after the live stream ends. I'll take a look at Visa closely to see what the price action looks like. But for the most part, thank you so much for joining in. I really, really appreciate you guys' support. Hope you guys have a great weekend. You know, have a great Friday as well. End the day on the green as well. When you go to bed, that's when it goes off. If it goes off, then I'll just go to bed right now. Right after the live stream, I'll go to bed and hopefully the markets will rally. So thank you so much for joining in. I really, really appreciate you guys. You know, take care. Hope you guys have a great weekend and a green day as well, and close out the week on a green note. Again, if you guys want to get access to those real-time updates and alerts, the link to our Patreon is going to be down in the description below. Feel free to join. As always, happy investing, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Take care.